chapter 12D. That is, what do you mean by, what are the main measures of the measures to rectify this? Yes, what are the important measures to rectify or to correct the deficient demand and the excess demand? Here it is. Now, first thing is 1 mark question. That is, why measures are required to correct the excess demand and deficient demand? This is question number 1 for 1 mark. Why do we need the measures to correct the deficient demand and uh, the excess demand? And the answer for 1 mark is it brings economic stability in the country. This is 1 mark question. It brings economic stability in our country and also to this thing make AD is equal to AS. That is also to reach the country to the equilibrium. Now, second important point is that how many measures or how many policies are there to correct the deficient demand and the uh, excess demand. There are two measures. They are known as fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy and monetary policy, we will see both working for deficient demand and excess demand. What is fiscal policy? First point, fiscal policy is revenue plus expenditure of government. Fiscal policy is a policy which tells us about the income, that is revenue, and expenditure of the government. Next thing is, it is also known as budgetary policy of our country. So, if we talk about 1 mark question, then fiscal policy explains about the revenue plus expenditure of the government, and it is also known as budgetary policy. If we say this question in for 3 marks, so first of all, what is fiscal policy is needed to be explained. Second, components of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is made up of, or how does it work? The first component is government expenditure. Second component is taxes. Third component is public borrowing or public debt. And fourth component is borrowing of RBI. So, before we continue with this, Stuti, how many measures are there to correct the excess demand and the deficient demand in our economy? First is, it is known as, Stuti, it is known as fiscal, FISCAL. Say again, first is, and second, monetary. Which policy it is? Monetary policy. Okay. Now, for 3 marks, first point, Kushagra, explain about the fiscal policy. Kushagra, first point, or question that is for 3 marks. Explain about the fiscal policy. बेटा अभी मैंने एक्सप्लेन ही नहीं किया है. I have not explained. I am coming to that point. how you will start writing your answer. This is the first point. What is fiscal policy? Say. Second point. Third, what we will study in this. Com- components. Yes, Kushagra, come up with the components. First component is, second, third, public borrowing or public debt. Public borrowing or public debt. Then fourth, RBI. Okay. Now I will tell you how do they work and they correct the this deficient demand and excess demand of the country. But before hand, one more question I would like to ask. That is, Shubh, why we use measures to correct the why we use the measures to correct the deficient demand and the excess demand. This is one mark question. Why? Because to to bring economic stability, and economic stability will be there when AD will be equal to AS. So fiscal policy and the monetary policies are two policies which are used to correct the deficient demand in the economy and excess demand in the economy, to bring the economy into stability or economic stability, and at that condition AD is equal to AS. Now, let's come quickly for the first component. The first component is, that is our government expenditure. When we talk about the government in our country do various types of expenditures. Note down. First, expenditure on public work program. Expenditure on public work program, that is construction of roads, dams, bridges. Second, expenditure on education and public welfare programs. Third, expenditure on defense of the country and maintenance of law and order. Fourth, expenditure on various types of subsidies to the producers to encourage production in our country. All of you know very well, subsidy is a transfer payment because the government gives this subsidy to encourage the producers of the economy or the country, but the government does not take it back. That is why it is known as a transfer payment. So, whenever there is excess demand, so government reduces its expenditure, and when there is a deficient demand, government increases its expenditure. And when we talk about increase in the government's expenditure, it is a kind of injection into the economy of our country. That is, income increases, AD also increases, and it is done till the time AD is equal to AS. When we talk about the, this government expenditure to reduce it, then at that time the government withdraw, that is curtail the expenditure, reduce the expenditure, and government reduces the expenditure. As a result, cash or liquidity increases in the economy, and when cash and liquidity increases, it helps to correct the situation of excess demand in the economy, and it is done by the government till the economic stability is achieved, or AD is equal to AS. So a reduction in in the government expenditure and increase in the government expenditure is an important component of a fiscal policy through which government uh, brings the economic stability by taking care of the excess demand and the deficient demand. Now next is taxes. When we talk about taxes, first of all, one line question. Just say what was fiscal deficit here? And now here one mark is, what do you mean by taxes? Then we will come, how does the taxes work here to take care of the deficient demand and excess demand? Taxes are compulsory payment made to the government by the household. Household pays the taxes to the government, and it is a compulsory payment, means the people cannot deny to the government for this. By increasing the tax burden on the household, government reduces their disposable income. When disposable income is reduced, then excess demand is managed. Again, I am repeating, taxes are one of the important tools which has been imposed by the government on the income of the household. When the households have more income, their disposable income is more, means disposable means spending. They are spending more. So there is a scarcity of goods and services in the market. What does government do to take care of the situation of excess demand? Government increase the taxes for the household. Now the households have to pay more taxes, and the households have to pay more taxes, so their expenditure power reduces, their disposable income reduces, and they curtail their expenditure, and it is done by the government till economic stability is achieved, or AD is equal to AS. Like this, government takes care of the excess demand situation. In the other term, we see that when the taxes are, reduced, when the taxes are reduced, when the people's income is less, what is the result? The people are not able to spend more income, means spending power is less. The people, they want to buy the goods, but they do not have money. In this situation, what does the government do? The government decreases the taxes. As a result, people, they have to pay less tax, so they have more income, and now they can spend more. So they have more liquid cash with them. So slowly and gradually, government will keep on decreasing the taxes till the time economic stability is achieved and AD becomes AS, and like this the problem of deficient demand is, taken care by the government in the economy. Now, before I come to the third point, let me know both the points are clear to everyone. Samriddhi, points are clear? Okay. Come to the next one, that is public borrowing. It is also known as public debt. Now, by borrowing from the people, government creates public debt in a situation of deficient demand. Means government reduces its borrowing from the public. So the people are left with the greater liquidity or greater cash, and aggregate expenditures remain high. On the other hand, when there is a situation of excess demand, the government steps up public borrowing by offering attractive rate of interest, and this reduces liquidity with the people. According to this, aggregate expenditure reduces and excess demand is managed. Now, what is public borrowing and how does it help? When there is a situation of a deficient demand, at that time the government gives, uh, the government reduces its borrowing from the public, means government gives a little leverage to the people not to borrow money from them, so that the people can spend their own money. They are there with the cash, they are there with the liquidity of money, and like this, the problem of deficient demand is solved. And at the same time, when the people they are having more money and there is a situation of excess demand, then what does the government do? The government give borrowing to the people, but charge attractive, means high rate of interest. Like this, their higher expenditure is curtailed. They are not able to spend more money as they have to pay more taxes to the government. Like this, excess demand comes into control. This is being done by the government till the government achieves the situation of economic stability in the market. So, when the people are having less cash and they want to do little expenditure, then there is a situation of deficient demand. The government give borrowing to the people borrow from government. And opposite to this is when the people have money and they are spending it and they want to do higher expenditure. Goods are not available in the market. It is a situation of excess demand. Prices are rising high. So government give the money to the people at a higher interest. Result of higher interest, the higher expenditure goes down. The problem of excess demand is solved and economic stability is created in the economy, and economy is back to the situation that is AD is equal to AS. Now last, borrowing from RBI. Who borrows from RBI? Government. Borrow the money from RBI. It is a very important part of a fiscal policy. When there is a deflationary gap or when there is an inflationary gap, borrowings from the RBI is done. When the borrowings are more by the government, then liquidity in the economy is seen, and the deflationary gap is reduced and deficient demand problem is also done. When borrowing is reduced, the amount of liquidity in the economy is also reduced. And it is a method to correct the inflationary gap in the economy. Now, how does the borrowing is going to affect excess demand and deficient demand? When the government will borrow more from RBI, the RBI will not be able to give more money to the central banks. Banks will also have less money with them. Only who will have more money? Government will have more money. So this government, when the government will have more money, government will, give this money to the people, either in the form of subsidies to the producers, or government will spend at the welfare of the people, or whatever is there. So the government will spend all these money actually for the people, and the people, they will do less money, they will spend less money. Let's take an example. The example is, we have studied government expenditure. Last point is that government spend money for the producers as a subsidy. So the producers, those who have been buying raw material at a very high cost, what does the government will do? Government will reduce the cost of the raw material, and where the producers were paying 100 rupees, now they will be paying 10 rupees. So what will happen? Their amount of production will increase in the market, and their profit will also increase in the market. The liquidity of money will also increase, and this is how the problem of deficient demand will be taken care. And opposite is the other one. When the government see that more money is there in the market, the government leave its borrowing, and no subsidies are given, and even the commercial banks, they give money to the producers at a very higher rate of interest. So this will help to reduce the extra money, or more money from the economy, and it will be reduced till the time AD is equal to AS, and this excess demand comes to an end. So class 12D, though already we have crossed 2 minutes above our class, so quickly revise only important components. First component taken by the government as a fiscal measure is, anyone, please quickly. First, yes, teacher. Second, ha, beta, you can leave the class, all of you. Thank you. You can leave the class.